Welcome to the Unlist. What's the Unlist? Well, it's my attempt at taking fragrance-related YouTube content and deconstructing it, bringing it back to being just a person in front of a camera, talking about perfume like a crazy cat lady yammers on about her 101 fur babies. In short, a pre-recorded version of stuff that I already do live on Instagram. The reason I'm doing this is pretty simple. I'm tired of the over-commercialization most content creators bring to the YouTube space, which is one of the reasons I avoided it for so long and swore I'd never become a YouTuber myself. Although, I maintain that I am not actually a YouTuber nor an influencer, as this is not my job and I'm not trying to influence any purchasing decisions for my own benefit. Before I elaborate further, though, I should talk about who I am, and for those of you who might not know me from my other platforms and who have found this channel by accident. So, I go by Varanus Radari on Bass Notes and The Scented Devil on Instagram, tying in my furry fandom character, or persona, with my identity in the fragrance community because I'm not afraid of losing audience to bigotry, since I don't need homophobes, racists, transphobes, or fascists enjoying my output anyway. So, if you can't handle me being the Scented Devil or Varanus Radari and having a dragon with long hair, then you can't really handle anything else I have to say either. So you can just go off, I don't care. I started out just writing fragrance reviews, which I post on Bass Notes, and then I back them up on my WordPress blog in case Bass Notes ever goes down one day or, has an outage. I don't post on Fragrantica because I don't agree with the up and down voting system they have there, nor do I enjoy how childish and reactive the most vocal segments of that population seem to be. People who write reviews that are actually not reviews, they're just attacking the guy who wrote the review below them. To me, that's basically drivel, and they should be a little better at keeping that kind of stuff off their directory pages, but they don't seem to care, therefore my reviews don't belong there. But then after a while, I moved to a little bit of socializing on Instagram. I don't put reviews on Instagram, though. I just literally hang out there. And all I do besides hanging out is I post rotating snapshots of my collection. And I do little reels giving opinions or thought exercises on perfume, and then the occasional live stream for interaction. In all honesty, if friends hadn't continued to push me into YouTube, I honestly wouldn't have ever come here, as I actually hate the clown show that so-called YouTube reviewers have made of this space, all in the name of ego stroking and, of course, profit by deception. Don't get me wrong, I can respect the hustle if you're transparent about being a hustler. We had a code about that back when I lived in Baltimore. I grew up in Baltimore, spent my first 33 years of my life in Baltimore, and you might have heard the expression, like, there's no shame in my game, and stuff like that. Well, that expression basically means that, if you're a hustler, and everyone knows you're a hustler, and you're open about being a hustler, whatever your thing is, and I'm not going to name those things because they're probably against YouTube policy to mention, but, if you're doing your business, and everyone knows you're doing your business, no one has a problem with you as long as you're open about it, and no one's getting hurt, So, my point is, if you deliver slick, overproduced content that feels like a commercial, and when you try to pass it off as honest reviews or legitimate advice, all the while handing out sales links or talking up a brand like it's the best thing you've ever smelled, and you always have a brand new bottle available to show, full bottle and packaging with every video, then you pass it off, like I said, as just an honest review, like it's a critique, but all you're doing is talking good. Or you take that really weird infomercial tone where it's all very neutral. You talk about what the fragrance smells like, how to use the fragrance, and then you don't give any opinion to it one way or the other. I've seen folks do that too. That's really no better, honestly, because that's you trying to play Switzerland because you're afraid that the gravy train is going to derail if you have an opinion. Either way, that is very deceptive. And if you deliver that kind of overproduced content and it feels like a commercial, then you're the kind of hustler nobody would care about if you got snitched on back home, That's the point of me mentioning that. Now, getting back to the Unlist, so deconstructing fragrance-related YouTube content. What does that mean exactly? Well, like I said, taking it back to just a guy in front of a camera, but it's more than that though. So it's completely deconstructed. So that means you're not going to get any flashy title cards. You're not going to get any visual graphics on screen, note breakdowns, none of that stuff. None of that garbagey, royalty-free music. You know, you're not going to get me coming out with like my hat on backwards, putting on a personality like, yo, this is the latest banger, yo. Just be penny dropping, yo. I'm not doing any of that garbage. I'm not going to do pull-ups. I'm not going to do push-ups. I'm not going to come at you like some really cringy alpha bro kind of mindset. You know, I'm not going to come at you like Giga Chad. You've seen the Giga Chad memes. I'm not going to be coming out in a business suit with a tie. You know, look like I'm all coked up with my hair slicked back with Pennzoil. I'm not doing any of that stuff. And I'm also not going to do a bunch of edits. You know, the people who spend way too much time editing their YouTube videos, you see them here, then they're here, then they're here, then they're here. You know they're splicing stuff together so that they don't trip up, they don't stutter, they don't repeat themselves. I'm not doing that. So when I get on camera and I talk, if I stutter, if I misspeak, if I just have a complete brain fart, that stays in. If I have to stop and collect my thoughts and then reattack something, that stays in, you know. And if I make a mistake and go, oh, wait a minute, nope, I'm wrong, again, that stays in. The naysayers might go, but hey, that just means you have no budget, right? Like you're just doing everything all in one take with no fancy background, no fancy music. That just means that you're garbage, right? That you're amateur. And to that I would say, why? Why would you consider something delivered raw and unfettered as amateur? Unless the kind of content you're used to is that slick, overly produced, commercialized stuff that I mentioned earlier. The kind of content that isn't really honest, isn't really helpful in any meaningful way. It's just viral marketing dressed up, you know, as something more authentic. And I get it, you know, it could have a nice background, not the server room you see behind me, which, by the way, I want to also mention that my location can change up since I'm not tied down to internet connection. Live streams have to be done in places where I have internet, right? But pre-recorded videos, I can do them anywhere. I can do them outside. I can do them in a basement. Doesn't really matter. So with the Unlist, you might see me recording in different places than you normally would with my live streams. That's one thing I guess you can kind of look forward to. But on point, the deconstructed nature of the videos is not because I'm poor or I'm unskilled or anything like that or amateur. It's because, well, let's be blunt here, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about slick production values. I don't care about perfection. I don't care about flashy title cards with smoke and stuff and spinning logos. I don't care about none of that. Royalty-free music. I don't care about having a full bottle to show you in every single video. Like, look, I can't talk about a fragrance unless I actually own it or I've worn it for 6 months of my life. I don't have that many years left on planet Earth. I'm already 41 years old. If I spent that kind of time with every fragrance I ever talked about, I'd be 300 years old. So it's just none of that. Just, again, critical thinking. You got to think about this a little bit here. And then lastly, you know, the deconstructed nature allows me to be more candid, right? So I don't have to worry about saying something out of turn or off color, because everything I've talked about, everything I will talk about, is something I've smelled on my own volition. Not that I don't accept things from brands. I mean, I would accept full bottles if they were just gifts with no strings attached. That ain't never going to happen, you know? I don't do PR lists, which is how you get most of these full bottles, because PR lists are what? Public relations. So that means if you're on a PR list, you're looking to get free stuff so you can advertise for that brand, okay? They're not giving you free stuff so you can be critical of it. So you can say, I like this and I don't like that. So I don't do the PR lists. But if there was a brand out there who just wanted to give me bottles and say, here, go nuts. You might like some, you might hate some, you might feel indifferent, but here you are, take these, go nuts. Never. They will never do that. That's just not happening. And then, of course, there are some rare cases where, and this is the only kind of real freebie stuff I do like, is when it comes from third-party sellers who don't really have an agenda besides exposure for their store. They carry a myriad number of brands because they're a third party, right? They're either brick and mortar or online retailer. So they don't really care if you love some or you hate some. All they care about is that you mention where you got them from. So if brand X store or brand Y boutique wanted to load me up with a bunch of free bottles, I'd have to end up getting rid of some because I only have so much space in my house. But if they wanted to do that, and the only thing I had to do is mention that I got them from this place, I could say whatever I wanted about them otherwise. I'd be okay with that. But that kind of thing doesn't really happen, though, does it? Again, that's not how it works. You get something, you got to write a puff piece or speak a good game about it. And that's not my vibe, because my vibe is saying what I want to say and not having to worry about it, So there ain't no strings on me, right? So there ain't no strings on me. And that's how the Unlist is being presented. Furthermore, deconstructing popular tropes that come from other fragrance-related YouTube content creators gives you more breathing room, right? So the Unlist is basically a joke, a play on words, because the most popular type of fragrance-related content on YouTube is the top 10 fragrance list. Everyone says, I want a top 10 this, I want a top 10 that, I want you to give me your top 10 this, that, and the other. And I'm like, my tastes are very organic. They shift a lot. So, for one, I might not even be able to name 10 of something. And two, I'm definitely not going to spend time ranking it first, second, third, good, better, best. The best I can do is name a handful of things in a category that you want me to mention and tell you how I feel about them, again, on a more candid level, not give them a numerical value. And top 10 lists don't really work like that. It's not how they work. They want, again, the flashy graphics, the presentation. And again, if that's the kind of shallow content you want, you're not coming to me anyway. So you've probably clicked off of this video a long time ago. You didn't even make it this far. But if you're someone who wants an honest rundown on fougères or orientals or blue fragrances or compliment getters, and it's delivered in a way that, because it's not structured with an actual list, I can do a compliment getters video, for example, right now, and then 6 months from now do another one, and not have to worry about, well, this one was number 1 on the last list, and now it's going to get bumped to number 2 on the net, because there's no numbers, right? There's no rhyme or reason. It's just me naming a random number of fragrances that fit the topic at hand, and then if I do the same exercise again in the future, I can name some of the same ones, which my opinions might have changed about them by then, or I can name different ones. There are no rules. Deconstructed, okay? That means all the formatting has been ripped away. And I can do that with a lot of the common tropes you find with YouTube fragrance content. And that's the point of the Unlist. Once again, it's to get rid of all the chaff, all the fluff, and just return it to one person in front of a camera whose insights and opinions that you hopefully have interest in hearing. If you don't, then again, why are you here? But one person's whose insights you actually want to have, delivering those insights to you, directly to you, with nothing else getting in the way. And that's what this channel is going to be about going forward. I hope you enjoy it.